welcome to Journey into Parenting. So this is a space that's dedicated to helping you prepare for the amazing life transition of becoming a parent. And I just wanted to let you know about this book, which is now available on my website. It's called Spirited, and it's a creative workbook to help you prepare for parenthood. So it's designed as an 8-week course with like creative exercises to help you be prepared on an emotional and a practical level for parenting. And I also wanted to introduce the guest that I have interviewed, Deborah McNellis, who's based in the States, and she does amazing work. She's founded something called neuro nurturing, and it's all about learning how to take care of your baby in a way that helps them to form a kind of healthy, calm brain. So I really hope that you enjoy this interview. And yeah, stick around to the end, and I'd love to hear your comments. Hi, so welcome to Journey into Parenting. So I'm really excited to have Deborah McNellis here today, and we're going to have a conversation about her work. So Deborah, so what I kind of wanted to talk about is I'm running workshops to help people prepare for parenthood, and my kind of like vision for the world is that it becomes a normal thing for people to kind of take some time to sort of prepare themselves emotionally and on a practical level for becoming parents. And yeah, so I'm just curious about the work that you do, and yeah, what kind of information you think parents should have before they embark on, you know, the amazing journey that's ahead of them.
It is an amazing journey, and I love
Yeah.
that. I love that you do this work because one of the things one of the comments that I get real frequently when I do presentations is, "I wish I would have known this when my kids were younger." So,
Okay. Yeah.
so sharing this information as people are journeying into parenting is perfect. I love that we're having this discussion, and I love that you're doing that work. So that's
Mm,
wonderful.
that's interesting because I've had a similar thing because I've just self-published a book which is like a course to prepare people for parenthood, and quite a few people have read it who've got older children, and they have that same response that they wish they'd known it sooner.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think the challenge is to kind of, you know, I think people don't necessarily know what they need to know, and so it's kind of, it can be difficult to reach them with the right information.
It's so true. It's true. We
Hmm.
don't know what we don't know. And
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, and so putting that information out and, just finding ways to reach people is so helpful and beneficial. So
Hmm.
I can tell you a little bit about how I got started.
Mm,
And
great.
it started when I was a freshman in college, and I didn't know what I wanted to go into yet. I didn't know what I wanted to major in, and my advisor said, "You need to declare a major." And I was watching a children's choir with my family, and as I was watching those children sing, the thought came to me, all of the adults in those children's lives don't know all they could know to help those kids become all they have the potential to become. So it was
Hmm.
that thought that made me know I want to learn everything I can
Mm.
to help children become all they have the potential to become.
That's
So
so beautiful. I always there's something really powerful about watching children sing. I think like I always get a little tear in my eye, even when it's not my own child. It's so
exactly, me too.
something beautiful
Yes,
about
those
it.
Christmas pageants and those kinds of
Mhm.
things. Oh, so heartwarming.
Yeah, definitely.
So it goes along with what you're focusing on is
Hmm.
understanding all we can know to help them become all they have the potential to become, and
Yeah.
to make life easier and better for the parents and more enjoyable for
Yeah.
that journey as well. So
Absolutely. And I feel like when you know how to connect with your children, you get this kind of positive feedback loop. So you're kind of enjoying the connection and they're enjoying it. And, you know, I have this idea of sort of whole family thriving, like, you know, in an ideal situation, you know, we can all thrive together and, you know,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
So what happened is at that time, when I went into early childhood education and I taught kindergarten for many years, but then I started realizing if I could reach out and share this information with parents,
Mm.
how beneficial that would be. And I was having a lot of parents of the kids in my kindergarten classes asking, well, what can I do at home to help my child?
Yeah.
And so then over several years, I started a community-based organization called Family Network. It was about that
Okay.
connection you're talking about. But that was all before the brain research information started coming out. And
Okay.
when that came out, I thought, oh, well, here we go. We now
Mm.
have science to show and demonstrate what children actually do need. So it's
Mm.
not just based on behavioral studies or theories, and it's just not opinions. We had science. And so
Mm.
that provides parents with so much more confidence about, oh, now I know what or what my kids actually need.
Yeah.
So that's when I started my company called Brain Insights, giving insights into the way that children's brains develop and sharing that information.
Mm,
Um,
great. I'd be
and
like really curious to hear more about what you've discovered. So I've been reading people like Dan Siegel and Tina Payne and those kind of theories. Is your work quite similar to that, or?
It is. It's very
Okay,
similar. Yeah.
great.
Tina and I were both on a summit that's
Aha.
going on right now.
Oh,
So
great.
yes, there are a lot of similarities. So
Hmm.
one of the big things that that brain science teaches is that it's experience, that whatever experiences are being provided or the child is experiencing, it makes physical connections in the brain to make that brain actually grow. So
Hmm.
sometimes that's really enlightening just to have that realization. So when
Yeah.
I do presentations, I do a simulation. I use
Okay.
these I use these balls
Cool.
as representation of the 86 billion brain cells that a child is born with. And then I do a simulation where I have the audience throw out experiences that a child would have early in their life. And then I make connections with these
Ah,
pipe cleaners based on those experiences that a child
yeah.
had. So we pick
That's
up a
great to have that
child.
visual.
What was that?
It's great to have it kind of visually
Yeah,
demonstrated like
exactly.
that.
So we pick up a child, we talk to a child, we feed a child, we, all the experiences that they're having, whether positive or negative,
Yeah.
um, they're going to make connections because they're experiences. And so it
Yeah.
actually physically grows and wires the brain and creates these pathways in
Yeah.
the brain from the experiences we're providing. So, of
Hmm.
course, having that understanding makes us realize, well, we want to provide, of course, the most positive experiences that are going to wire that child's brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, I heard that a lot of the synaptic connections are formed within the first kind of couple of years of life. So actually, how we interact with our children during that very early time is really critical. And it's not that it can't be changed later, but how much better would it be if people just had the information that actually, pick your child up when it's crying, learn to tune into them and understand what their needs are, and then you can help them to build a lovely kind of calm brain that kind of experiences the world as a safe place.
You're so right. You got that. You nailed it in your explanation. That's exactly right. That the
Hmm.
brain is always changing throughout our lives. It's called plasticity. We have
Yeah.
that ability to make the changes later. And the reason that I do the work I do and emphasize on those early years is just what you said,
Hmm.
that those early months and those early years are the time that is the most rapid change and the most rapid connections being made in those brains. So this, what I was demonstrating, that's happening at 1 million connections per second.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
at
hard
that,
to
and
get your head
in
around.
those, yeah. So we need to be providing those optimal experiences, as you said, the
Hmm.
most nurturing, responsive um, um, experiences, because that even though the last part of the brain that completes development is called the prefrontal cortex, and that doesn't finish developing until about the age of 25. If you've
Yeah.
read Dan Siegel's stuff, you're aware of that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those early responses, like you were describing, are contributing to that prefrontal cortex, that highest functioning area of the brain that
Mm.
allows us to have self-regulation and empathy and see perspective of others and do critical thinking and problem solving and imagination and anticipate consequences and all those important things that we
Mm.
of course want our children to develop. And it
Yeah.
begins by that responsiveness, that consistent responsiveness to the expressed needs of that baby.
Yeah. I guess there's two things that are coming up for me that people might ask, and I guess one of them is just is how do you kind of understand your baby and respond to them effectively? Um, yeah, I mean, I think like simple things are really effective, aren't they? Just like, actually looking into their eyes. And I find it, even kind of breathing with them can really help you to kind of get onto a level with them where you're connected. Are there any other
Exactly.
things that you would recommend to new parents?
Well, actually, I don't know if you're aware of the neuro nurturing. I trademarked the term neuro nurturing.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. That's great.
Okay. And so I've created what I call neuro nurturing interaction packets. So they're
Okay,
exactly what you were you were asking about.
perfect.
I didn't know if you were aware of them or not. So the first two, so I have a whole series of them from birth up to age 6. And and the idea is that these are in this format. So they're hung on a ring. They can be in your purse, your pocket, your diaper bag, right on hand. And they're just flip books that give you exactly what you were asking.
Oh,
How do
brilliant.
you
That's
do
so
this?
good.
How do you
Great.
connect? How do you make those? So they're interaction ideas on the front of the card, and then the back of the card gives that insight as to how that's helping support the child's brain development. So
Hmm.
the parents are getting the what to do and then the why to do it. How is this benefiting my child? So it gives that confidence again. So this
Hmm.
one's called Neuro Nurturing Your Newborn. And this
Yeah,
is all about the specific kinds of things you were mentioning
cool.
of, that really tuning in and making that child feel loved and worthwhile and special
Mm.
and establishing that trust and that connection. And
Mm.
there's a lot of that also in this one, but there's a little bit more, like language development and other aspects of development in that first year. And this one's called Love Your Baby.
That's
So,
great.
um,
Yeah, and like you said, it's so beneficial, just for you as a parent because it's much more fulfilling and much nicer to be with your baby when you're connecting with them in that way. But just kind of what really excites me about doing this, the kind of work that we're doing, is like the the idea that you can influence somebody's entire life course for the better just by handing out the right information is really, really
yes,
great.
yes. Isn't that
Mm.
exciting and wonderful?
Definitely. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Well, yeah, what could be better?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, I also wonder, when we come across those parents who, might be feeling sad about the fact that they didn't have the information earlier in their child's life. I wonder, what advice to give them because it definitely isn't too late. Like you said, the frontal cortex doesn't stop developing until you're 25, which is mind blowing actually, because, I think I thought I was fully grown up when I was 18, and I
Yes,
definitely wasn't. So I think it's useful also for people to be aware of that. You
that's
know.
right. That's right. But you're so right that, there are those parents that are feeling like, I didn't know this when my kids were little, and I'm
Mhm.
feeling, um, guilty or, just sad about not being able to do what this information is sharing. And, you know, and again, we can't have done what we didn't know. We talked
Mhm.
about, if you didn't know it, you can't do it. So just eliminate that because you couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
when my kids were little, the information wasn't out there, so I couldn't do it either.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, having that awareness that the brain is always changing, always adapting, always making new connections throughout our lives, that's reassuring. So, every time we can do something to repair a relationship, the better. Like it's okay for parents to say, "Oh, I know, I yelled at you a lot back, when you were 5, and I am so sorry that I did that. I wish I hadn't
Hmm.
done that, but I want to make it different now."
Hmm.
You can do
Yeah.
that.
I think that's something that's been an insight that I've had through my parenting journey, is to reframe parenting as a relationship. To kind of to get away from the idea that you're trying to kind of um, discipline your child or anything like that, and to actually just recognize that it's about the connection that the two of you have. And sometimes I think when things feel difficult, it might be just because the connection, like you say, needs a little bit of work or a bit of repair, or that the child might be behaving in a way that you find difficult, but actually they're just trying to communicate with you that you're not spending enough time with them, or you're not giving them the quality of attention that they really need. So I think, yeah, my approach has definitely been not to ever punish my son, but just to kind of have a look at what's really going on, what's behind the behavior and what's he really needing.
Exactly. Oh,
Mm.
you're so you're so wise and wonderful.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. Definitely not perfect.
no, and no one is. No
No,
one is. So
because it's such a hard job, isn't it? Like, I think
it is a hard job,
every
but
parent I know is trying incredibly hard, and yeah, it's
exactly.
tough.
And
Mm.
what you were just describing, this is what helps a lot of parents also, is to have the understanding that that prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until about the age of 25.
Mhm.
So those behaviors that are more difficult have to do a lot with that area of the brain isn't fully finished developing enough to
Mhm.
control all that child is feeling. So if they're
Yeah.
feeling like they're not being listened to or having enough attention from you, they're going to act out. Just they're not probably going to verbalize it. Mom, I'm feeling like you're not giving me enough attention. Some kids might, but
Yeah,
but
my son
but
does actually, but that's because we've done that from really early. Like
yeah,
I've always
yeah,
got him to kind of express and name his
right.
feelings, which is
But an example I use a lot of times in my presentation is um, picturing a 2-year-old in the grocery cart at the grocery store, and you're in the checkout line, and there's candy right at that child's eye level, right?
Mhm.
And
So
they want
unfair.
that. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they want that candy.
Yeah.
So if we say no, we're not getting candy, she's going to have big emotions about it, right? And
Mhm.
she's going to, yeah, I want that candy, and she's going to cry and throw what we call a temper tantrum and be out of control. And that is happening because she's having these big emotions that she
Yeah.
doesn't know how to deal with yet.
Mhm. Yeah.
Prefrontal cortex is the area that's going to be able to control that if it's well developed later in life. But
Mhm.
at 2 years old, it's very far from full development. So she's
Mhm.
having all these big emotions that she doesn't know how to control yet. So that's why it's called out of control behavior. So
Mhm.
when we instead, well, first of all, we're feeling kind of agitated, right, and dysregulated as well,
Yeah.
because now
Mhm.
our child is screaming in the store, and everybody's looking at us, and can't that person handle their child, and all those kinds of things. So we have to calm
Mhm.
and go to our prefrontal cortex and use our mature brain to help that child calm through their big emotions. And we
Mhm.
can say, I know it's so hard when you can't have what you want, isn't it? I
Mhm.
said no, and it made you mad, and it made you sad, didn't it? And naming those feelings and empathizing helps calm her through those emotions, and is actually contributing experiences that are going to contribute to wiring those that prefrontal cortex for her ultimately to be able to learn to control her own emotions.
Yeah, amazing. And I find, I guess if I'm in a situation like that and those kind of strong feelings start to happen, I feel like what I've learned to do is bring in this kind of witnessing quality. So part of me is feeling that thing, but part of me is also kind of somewhat detached and witnessing. And I guess when that's happening, we're in the kind of prefrontal cortex zone. And that by helping our children to name their emotions, we help them to kind of switch on their prefrontal cortex as well and come into that kind of calmer
Exactly.
state.
Exactly. It just
Mhm.
helps them work through all of that and calm through it, because you are demonstrating and modeling that calm and making that connection happen for them.
Yeah.
And when parents, like you stepped out and you visualize stepping out and observing, and when parents do that, you can stop and realize, oh, I'm given this opportunity to help her develop this
Mhm.
ability.
Yeah.
So thinking of it as an opportunity for learning and helping her develop kind of helps as well.
Absolutely. And I think you know, those connections, like you said, those connections form very quickly. So it kind of, it doesn't necessarily take many times of us doing that before they do actually start to learn, which I find
Right,
really exciting.
right. The brain does need repetition, so the
Yeah, that's true.
consistency of it is
Mhm.
important, but you're
Yeah.
right, it does happen rapidly, and but the more consistently that it does happen, the
Mhm.
stronger those connections are going to be made.
Yeah. I just have one more question, which is,
Sure.
sometimes people kind of wonder, you know, like we're creating a very kind of safe and calm environment for our young children, but the world isn't necessarily always calm and safe. So how is it that by giving our child that experience of safety, we then prepare them for the world, if that makes sense?
Yes, it does. So the first 18 months are the most critical for them to feel safe and secure. If
Yeah.
they're feeling that safe and secure feeling and that trust in your relationship and that you are there for them and someone has been there to meet their needs predictably, what happens then is their brain is then ready to go into the next stage, and that is exploring the world. And
Okay.
so, what I always talk about, I'll ask audiences, what does a 18-month-old get into? And they all always respond with everything, right?
Everything. Yeah.
Get into everything. That's what they're
Yeah.
supposed to be doing because they've
Hmm.
had those secure relationships, like I said, that experience, that trust versus mistrust. So now, because they've had that, they feel secure enough to go and explore the world.
Yeah.
So
Amazing.
allowing them to go out and do that exploring and experimentation and trial and error um, is just exactly what they need. But
Hmm.
being there if they need you, when
Yeah.
they need you. So
Hmm.
not interrupting it, just letting them go do it. But if they need you, they know you're going to be there for them.
Yeah, because so the beginning part builds this foundation of a sense of safety and
Yes,
security in the world and within the family, and then from there they have the confidence to go out and explore the world.
you got it.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah,
amazing.
it is.
Well, that's been really, really fascinating. I'll put a link to your lovely cards
Thank you.
in the show notes, and I'd like to put those on my website as well because I think they're really, really useful. And I've got this book as well. It's called Spirited, and it's a
Ah,
creative workbook to help people prepare for parenthood. So it kind of, yeah, it's like a process to get you ready emotionally, and it also has some of that similar kind of neuroscientific information
oh, I'm so glad to
there as
know about it.
well.
It sounds wonderful.
Thank
I might
you.
want to put that on my website.
That would be great. Thank you.
Wonderful.
It's been really, really fab. I love the fact that we have Zoom and we can do these kind of international.
Oh, isn't it
Um,
great? Yes, yes.
yeah, great.
So I enjoyed talking with you. This was such a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.